My stepmom didn't even let me say goodbye to Dad at his funeral. She stood at the church doors and said coldly, "This is for real family only." I stood there, holding back tears, while strangers hugged my father's casket. A week later, she and her 2 spoiled kids blocked me from the will reading. She smirked at the lawyer and said, "She's not listed in the will. This meeting is only for heirs." If this broke your heart, hit that like button, subscribe for justice, and stay with me. Because what happens next flipped everything upside down. I didn't argue, I didn't cry. I just reached into my coat, pulled out a sealed envelope, and silently handed it to the lawyer. He hesitated. Denise laughed. "What is that, another one of her pathetic dramas?" But when the lawyer opened it, his eyes widened, his hands started shaking. He looked at me, then back at her, then whispered, This changes everything." Denise's face went white. "What is that?" I finally spoke. "That," I said calmly, "is the real will. The one Dad signed 2 weeks before he died. The one you didn't know existed. Until now." Her son Brett stood up and shouted, "She's lying!" The lawyer cleared his throat. "This document is notarized. It overrides the previous one and names Olivia as the primary heir of everything." Her daughter gasped. Denise froze. And I just sat back. Because now, they weren't allowed in the room anymore. The silence after the lawyer's words felt like thunder. Denise's fake smile shattered. "That's impossible. I watched him sign the will. My will. This has to be forged." But the lawyer remained calm. "Mrs. Morgan, this document is notarized, dated 2 weeks before Mr. Morgan's passing, and it clearly revokes any previous wills. Olivia is listed as the sole beneficiary of his estate, including the company shares, house, vehicles, and all investment accounts." Her daughter Kayla jumped in. "This is a setup. She manipulated him." I turned slowly toward her. "Funny you say that. Want to tell everyone why Dad called me the night before he died, crying over how you all were pressuring him to change his will?" Kayla's face turned beet red. The lawyer kept flipping through the document, then paused. "There's also a handwritten note attached. In Mr. Morgan's words, 'If anything happens to me suddenly, know this change was made of my free will. Olivia stood by me when everyone else turned against me.'" Denise's knees buckled, and she sat down hard. For the first time in 10 years, she looked powerless. Her son Brett tried to grab the will from the lawyer's hands. "Let me see that," but the lawyer snapped. "Touch this document and you'll be dealing with criminal charges. Olivia, as the rightful heir, now has control over this property. I suggest you all leave." You should have seen their faces. The same people who shut the door on me at Dad's funeral were now being shown the door in his office. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just looked at Denise one last time and said, "You spent years trying to erase me, but turns out, Dad never stopped seeing me. And neither will the world once they see what I do with everything he left me." They didn't leave right away. Denise sat frozen, her lipstick now smeared from nervously biting her lip, while her kids whispered furiously behind her. The lawyer waited in silence, giving them a chance to walk out with whatever dignity they had left. But of course, they weren't capable of that. Brett stood up first. "This isn't over. We'll challenge this in court. There's no way Dad left everything to her. She wasn't even around most of the time." I finally looked at him and said calmly, "You mean the time when I was taking care of him in the hospital while you were busy partying in Miami?" That shut him up for a moment. Kayla jumped in next. "Even if it's real, this was all her manipulating a dying man. Everyone here knows Olivia has always been jealous of our family." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Jealous? Of a family that never wanted me? I gave up my job, my apartment, and almost my sanity to move back and take care of Dad when he got sick. You two never even visited unless it was to ask for money. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Miss Olivia, would you like to formally request security to remove them?" I shook my head. Not yet. I walked to the window of Dad's old office. The same office Denise tried redecorating the minute she moved in, removing every photo of Mom and me. I remember the way she used to tell guests that her kids were the only real family Dad had. I remember the way she'd roll her eyes every time I came over, like I was just some stray the family had to tolerate. But now, the portraits were coming back. And so was the truth. I turned back around. You know, Denise, I said slowly, Dad told me about the pressure you were putting on him, about how you tried to get him to sell the company and move everything under your name. You didn't think he'd notice you slowly draining his accounts? Or trying to make Kayla the new VP behind his back? She stood up suddenly. Stop lying, you're poisoning his memory. But the lawyer interrupted. Actually, Mr. Morgan included financial documents with this will. Bank transfers, emails, even audio clips. I've listened to them. It's all disturbing. Her jaw dropped. He recorded me? I nodded. Every phone call, every late-night conversation. He knew something wasn't right, and he told me to keep everything locked in my safe until the time was right. Her voice cracked. He never trusted me. I took a deep breath, then answered quietly. He did, at first. But you turned his trust into a weapon, and now, it's all coming back to you. Brett slammed the table and stormed out. Kayla followed, but not before whispering, You'll regret this. I didn't respond. Denise stayed seated, shaking. The lawyer politely placed a printed copy of the will in front of her. You're entitled to nothing, legally and emotionally? Well, that's not for us to decide, is it? She stood slowly, fixing her coat with trembling hands. You think you've won, Olivia? I leaned in slightly. Number I didn't win. I just stopped letting you cheat. She walked out with her head down. The lawyer closed the door behind her, then looked at me. Would you like to begin the asset transfer process now? I stared at the desk. Dad's old coffee mug was still there. I could almost hear him laughing, telling one of his corny jokes. For a second, I forgot all the chaos, all the pain, all the betrayal. And then I nodded. Yes, let's start. I want to do this right, for him. But what I didn't know was, this was only the beginning. Because inside one of Dad's drawers was a letter that would change everything again. The lawyer handed me a box marked Private for Olivia only. It was taped shut and sealed with my dad's signature. His familiar, messy scrawl that always trailed off at the end. My hands trembled as I opened it. I expected maybe some old photos, maybe a few letters, but what I found made my heart stop. On top was a handwritten envelope that read, If she tries to take everything from you, read this. I opened it slowly. Inside was a letter. My dad's voice came alive in my head as I read his words. Olivia, if you're reading this, it means she tried what I feared she would. I wanted to believe in love again, after your mother died. But Denise? She changed. You saw it before I did. And I'm sorry it took me so long to realize you were the only one left truly standing by me. I swallowed hard, my throat tightening as I kept reading. You sacrificed everything to take care of me. You canceled trips, left your career, and still came to sit by my side every single day, even when I was difficult. I knew what Denise was doing, slowly isolating me, manipulating accounts, poisoning relationships. And I was scared, not of dying, but of leaving you alone with people who didn't deserve your kindness. I had to pause. My eyes were burning. Under the letter was a flash drive. Taped to it was a note. They wanted to take everything, but I saved proof. All of it. The lawyer leaned in. We can plug it in now if you want. I nodded, still in a daze. We opened the files in his office computer. There were folders dated and labeled meticulously. Denise, unauthorized transfers. Kayla, company sabotage emails. Brett, threats and abuse. Each file was evidence, screenshots, audio recordings, and scanned signatures. Dad had been preparing for this fallout. and instead of confronting them while alive, he made sure I had everything to protect myself when he was gone. One audio clip caught my attention. I clicked on it. Denise's voice filled the room. "She doesn't deserve anything, Richard. She's not even your real daughter. That house, that company, it should go to my kids. You owe us." Then Dad's calm but broken voice replied, "No, Denise. I owe Olivia. She's the one who never left my side." I covered my mouth. The lawyer looked stunned. "Do you want to press charges?" I shook my head. "Not yet." Because now, I had the truth. I had everything. But what shocked me most wasn't the betrayal. It was the final part of the letter. "Olivia, there's one more thing. I never told you this because I didn't want you to feel different, but you're not just my stepdaughter. I adopted you legally after your mother passed. You are, and always were, my real daughter in every way that matters." I froze. Adopted? I had no idea. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I realized everything she had said to me over the years, that I wasn't real, that I didn't belong, was a lie. My father had claimed me, loved me, and protected me, even in death. I looked up at the lawyer. "We're going public with this, all of it," he nodded. "There'll be media attention. Are you ready for that?" I wiped my tears and smiled for the first time in weeks. I'm not just ready, I'm done hiding. They wanted to erase me, but I'm about to show them what legacy really looks like. But just as I prepared to rebuild everything he left behind, an unexpected knock at the door would shake the truth even further. Because someone else knew about the hidden will, someone I never thought I'd see again. There was a knock at the door, not the usual kind. It was sharp, purposeful, almost urgent. The lawyer and I exchanged a glance. He moved cautiously toward the door, opened it halfway, and froze. I stood up instantly. "Who is it?" He stepped aside, and in walked Andrew, my dad's former business partner, the man I hadn't seen in almost 4 years. He looked older, more tired, like life had worn him down since the last time I saw him in Dad's hospital room. But the look in his eyes, that same spark of quiet wisdom, was still there. "Andrew," I whispered, stunned. "What are you doing here?" He held up a brown envelope, sealed, just like the one Dad had given me. "I wasn't supposed to deliver this unless Denise tried to take the company," he said quietly. "Richard gave it to me before his last surgery. He said if she ever moves against Olivia, I was to hand this to you in person." My hands trembled as I took it. Inside was a contract, signed and notarized, transferring full controlling interest of the company to me. Not just inheritance, ownership, complete authority, irrevocable and attached. Was a handwritten post-it. "Olivia, I didn't just want to leave you something. I wanted to give you the power to protect what I built. You always had the strength. Now you have the title to match." I couldn't believe it. Not only had Dad rewritten his will, he made sure I had protection against any legal games Denise might try to play. He left no loose ends, no gaps, just love, in the most powerful form. Andrew sat down beside me. "Your father told me. The world underestimated Olivia, but she's going to be stronger than any of them ever imagined." I didn't speak. I looked out the office window, the same one Denise used to close whenever I came to visit. The sunlight poured in like justice. For the first time, the place didn't feel haunted by her presence. It felt like mine, because it was. Denise had tried to erase me. She stole my goodbye, my memories, my seat at the table. But in the end, I owned the table. That week, I publicly released Dad's final message, exposed the fraud, and let the truth burn through the lies. The story made headlines. The internet rallied behind me. And Denise? She disappeared from every social circle that once worshipped her. But I didn't do it for revenge. I did it to honor the man who never stopped believing in me, even when I stopped believing in myself. And now, every time I walk through the company halls, see his initials engraved on the office doors, or hear people whisper my name with respect. I remember that moment she said, "You don't belong in this meeting," because now I own every room they once tried to lock me out of,